Hello guys, and welcome to episode 2 of this FTMO mini-series that we're doing here on the channel. Now, if you are just joining us and you haven't seen any of the other episodes in the series, to fill you in, basically we started with a £100 account on Admiral Markets. We grew that to £142 over a few weeks. We then took that £142 and we bought an FTMO £10,000 challenge account with the intention of seeing if we could complete that and then buy our way into having a funded account. Now, it has long since been a myth in the trading industry that you can start with £250 or £350 and can generate a consistent income from trading. And we just don't believe that, right? We disagree with that. But what we thought we would do with this series is show you that even if you have a small pot of money, maybe you can't grow that 100 into thousands or consistent income over a matter of months. But what you can do is build it up and then use that to buy a challenge for a funded account such as FTMO and then take that forward and generate an income from that account. Okay, let's get on with this week's update. So this past week in the markets has been a roller coaster. Last time I checked in with you, I was just under 5% up. I believe I was 4.6% in profit on the account after a 6% trade on dollar yen. Now, since then, I've had a losing trade on Aussie dollar, which was a 2% loss. That brought me down to 2.6% above break even. I then had a 1% loss on dollar yen. That took me down to 1.6% in profit. And then coming into the start of this week, I had another 2% loss on Aussie dollar, bringing me down to 0.5% below break even. It's been a super tough week. We've had the US presidential elections, which are still going on currently. Typically, I wouldn't trade through periods like this, but with this FTMO account, we do have that time constraint of a month. And so, I don't want to be sitting on my hands. I do want to be a little bit more active, perhaps a little bit more aggressive and see what I can do on this account in the small time frame that I do have. Now, that being said, up until yesterday, the account was sitting just under break even. Now, I'm going to overlay on screen an order I had in the New Zealand dollar from about 2 weeks ago, an order well above market. On the elections last night, this order was actually activated, and when I woke up this morning, it was running 5.5% in profit, right? So with that closed, the account is now sitting quite nicely back up above 5% in profit. So we're just a little bit ahead of where we were last week, but any progress is any progress, right? Even small progress is progress after all. So now I'm gonna get onto the charts. I'm gonna give you a breakdown of the Aussie dollar trade that lost me 2% last week, the dollar yen trade that lost me 1% last week, and then the Aussie dollar trade that lost me 2% at the start of this week. And then I'll follow that up with the 5.5% trade that I had on NZD USD early hours of this morning. Now, overall on the account, I believe I've lost 7 or 8 trades, right? I've won 2 and I'm 5% up on the account. So very pleased about that. What this shows is that even in a time period where the markets aren't very good, you've maybe got a lot of economic, macroeconomic and fundamental factors influencing the markets, making our job as technical traders difficult. It's showing that if you're implementing a good risk reward strategy, you're going to be able to overcome that. Even in a time period where your strike rate is suffering, you are still going to be coming out ahead. I mean, to lose 7 trades and win 2 and be 5% ahead, I'm really super pleased about that. Just to show you these trades and stuff on MetaTrader, you can see there is the account balance there. Here is the history, so the 10,000 deposit from FTMO and all of the trades that I'm about to give you a breakdown of. And then in that little settings tab there, you can see that is in fact the FTMO account as well. So let's get onto the charts and I'll give you a breakdown. Okay, so now we're gonna look through some of these trades. The first trade is an Aussie dollar short. Now I was actually taken out of this yesterday. This is a trade that I can see myself taking over and over again. It is a trade that fits my trading plan. It goes by all my rules, but unfortunately it just didn't play out. And I think that's something that's important to remember in trading, is that having a rigid plan, having a rigid system, a rules-based system and a strategy is not there to produce winning trades every single time, but rather winning results over time. Trading is still a probabilistic game, and so even if you have a 70 or an 80% strike rate, you're still going to lose 3 times out of 10, for example, with a 70% strike rate. So losses are going to happen. I personally think this one was just a little rally ahead of the US election night. So let's break it down. So starting here on the daily time frame, something I'm always looking for is where that EMA is. And the EMA I'm using here is the 50 period moving average, one that I found works very well with US dollar majors. The next thing I'm doing is putting on levels of interest. For me, this double top up here is a level of structure that I'm very interested in, just due to the respect it's had, as will support lows here and here as well, and then obviously resistance highs. The next area, I want to look for resistance above market. You know, as price is ascending, I'm looking for areas above market that price could run into. The area on my chart that I'm looking at is a 70760 level, as it just comprises these recent highs here. You can see it's not had a whole lot of respect. It's not, you know, a super level or anything like that, but as price has paused there momentarily in recent times, I'd like to see a price react to that on the way back up. Dropping down onto the hourly and adding on a fib now from this swing high to the swing low, which is just the daily high to the daily low. We can see straight away we're starting to get some confluence in around a couple of areas of structure. Now, the first area of structure that we're getting confluence is obviously the 618, which is this kind of area in here. And then the 7860 is obviously confluencing this area up here. Now for me, in a situation like this where I've got two really good areas where I'd like to enter a trade, the first being here and the second being here, I'm typically going to go for the furthest away area, the area that's going to be closest to my stop, as it's going to provide me a better risk reward. Now what I'll do is I'll keep this zone marked out, and should price go into that zone and exhibit bearish price action, I would probably take the trade, right? So something like this is what I'm looking for, price to run up into that area. If price was only to run up into this area and put in perhaps, let's say, a shooting star candle, I would actually just get short based off of that, okay? Now, in this situation, I get a pending order in on this low. We have that fib confluence at that structure as well. So as price tracks forward, I get my order in, and I'm just aiming for this level of structure here with a stop above this candle that breaks through that support low. Now, what we'll see is as price trades up into it, we get a very aggressive move up, and I get stopped out in the exact same candle that I'm filled on the order. I tend to find that when I'm wrong on a trade, I'm wrong relatively quickly. So if I get stopped out, it's usually within the first few hours. I personally prefer it that way. I hate a trade that just drifts against you for hours and hours and hours, even days, and then, you know, wicks up and hits your stop. That's just a nightmare for me. So this was the first loss. The loss on dollar yen, I'll go over now. This is a bit more of a simple trade. This isn't using a higher time frame bias or anything like that. Effectively, I was looking for price to break out up to this structure here. I just seen this to be an extremely high probability play, to see price break out of a little bit of resistance here on the 1 hour, and then just pop up to potentially double top and then run to the downside, something like that. Now, in this situation, I'm looking for a clean break and then price to come back into that level to then trade it up. Now we get a clear breakout of that level and then price trades away slightly. I get an order in on this level with a stop below this candle here. Target there, not looking for a huge target, 27 pips, not an amazing risk reward either, but I deem this to be relatively high probability. We're literally just bouncing up into that next swing point. You know, typically these are very high probability and very quick plays for me. When I trade stuff like this, I'm usually seeing it resolve in sort of an hour, 2 hours. Now, one of the main confluences on this trade is of course being above that 50 period moving average. Is something that I do really like to see. Now, as we trade back down, I get filled on that order, price trades down through that level, and then trades down further, begins to trade sideways, and then I actually get out on the next candle, but I get out around here. You'll see this next candle actually closes back above my entry. To be honest, as soon as we started to put in any kind of bullish price action, this bullish engulfing here on the 15-minute, that's actually where I got out of the trade. So if you just rewind back to the start of the video where I'm showing you me actually closing out this trade, I closed out around here for around about a 1% loss. So not necessarily a poor trade, just didn't work out the way I'd hoped it would. Managed to get out early for a 1% loss rather than the full 2% I was risking. Now, last but not least, we have this trade on New Zealand dollar, which is the big 5%er that I closed this morning. Now, coming onto the daily time frame here on New Zealand dollar, I think pretty much anybody who's done baby pips or even looked at basic technical analysis will instantly be able to see this head and shoulders here. Shoulders of relative equal size, a relatively nice neckline there, and obviously a head that's just higher than the shoulders. Very, very simple stuff. Now, I couldn't really find an entry within this kind of price action here. What I was looking for, if I just whack on a 78.60 fib, you'll see where that lines up. It lines up right in this region here, and as I drop down onto the lower time frames, you'll see the structure that I ended up trading from. Dropping down onto the hourly here, I'm gonna have to zoom all the way back and just zoom in over here. So this is my 78.60 fib level, is right up here. I basically had a zone and here from where the 78.60 is, from that structure rather, down to the 78.60, it looked something like this. I'm gonna go into the 4 hour just so that the screen is not taking up as much of the screen. But we're trading off of that 1 hour structure. And so again, if I pull back out onto the daily, I'm looking to get short from that zone, and the area I'm looking to target, if I just grab, let's just grab a red line. The area I'm looking to target is this little interim high here on the way back down. If I delete that fib now, I can go back onto the 4 hour and put on my risk to reward tool. Goes in from around here, stop something like that with a target of there, right? So it's pretty much a 2.7 risk reward, 2.5 risk reward, which obviously on 2% risk is just over a 5% trade. Now, if I track forward on this 4 hour time frame, you'll see what happens coming into election night. We get that spike up in the middle of the night, and then price runs down and slams target. Now, I actually closed out a couple of ticks before we got to target. I actually extended the target when we got that spike up, and then as I saw a little bit of a pullback, I just decided to get out of that trade for, all in all, a 5% trade. Now, if I skip forward and show you where the market has gone so far today, you'll see that it's pretty much held that level that I was initially looking to target for my initial take profit. It's held that structure, decent level here on this 4 hour time frame, and it's starting to push back up. So got out at the right time, and really, really pleased with the result of that trade.
Okay, so the last step here is, of course, to do our little FTMO metrics client area review. So I'm just going to refresh this page just so you can see all of the data is up to date. Now, I'm unsure about this graph. I am going to email them and ask them why this graph is showing 275 as my balance, when down here it's quite clearly showing 515. And obviously my max daily loss, even here it says equity and balance, 10,515. So I'm not sure why that graph isn't updated. It doesn't really make any sense to me, but regardless, you can see we're on track to get this minimum trading days passed. We've done 7 and we still have 16 days left. Max daily loss, again, we've come halfway towards that, the max daily loss being 5%, our max daily loss has been 2.2. Max loss overall, again, 1.75, and the max overall loss is 10%. And then the profit target is 1K, and we're up 515. Down here you have win rate, again, that's a 36% win rate, and we're still 5% up over 10 trades. So, you know, really pleased about that as well. The expectancy is skewed towards the downside because occasionally I'll close little bits of trades out in a small profit or a small loss, which just skews that metric. And then you'll see the average profit being 2.3% and the average loss being 0.9%. So really, really pleased about those results. You can see in here a logbook of all the trades I've taken as well as opening times, volumes, buy and sell. You can see pretty much all of the profit is coming from the sell side, and then opening times and hours and all that type of stuff. So that's been a little update on our FTMO metrics panel.
So guys, that wraps up episode 2 and week 2 of this little challenge series we're doing. Now, whilst we haven't ended this week significantly ahead of where we were last week, we are still making little bits of progress. And considering how volatile the markets are at the moment with these elections going on, I think we've actually done very well considering. So if you're new to the channel and you are enjoying the series, please drop it a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And if you haven't checked out the KB trading community, we actually run a trading community where like-minded traders can socialize and talk about trading. We discuss charts, analysis, we do live Q&As and stuff like that as well. If you are interested, that's going to be the top link in the description. Please go and check it out, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.